Good afternoon and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News First at 4. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
It's good to have you with us tonight. I'm Whitney Ward, and we begin with breaking news this afternoon.
A House committee just subpoenaed the White House demanding documents that could provide details on President Donald Trump's dealings with Ukraine regarding Joe Biden's son. So
the subpoena was issued by the House Oversight and Reform Committee as part of Democrats' impeachment investigation of Trump. President Trump has resisted so far Democratic attempts to produce documents and administration witnesses for the impeachment inquiry. And some more breaking news. 15 minutes ago, Bernie Sanders' campaign confirmed the presidential candidate did have a heart attack on Tuesday. A Las Vegas hospital just released him. He had surgery to remove a blocked artery in his heart. His team says Sanders is still expected to be at the next debate, which takes place on October 15th. Back here at home, more than a year after police say a Spokane man killed his infant son, we have learned he has pleaded guilty to the crime. As
KREM 2's Amanda Rowley found out, he could spend 26 years in prison.
34-year-old Eric Sherman is convicted of homicide by abuse. The doctor who treated his infant son says in the 23 years of practicing medicine, this was the worst child abuse case they've ever seen.
According to court documents, doctors said when the infant arrived at Sacred Heart Medical Center, he was unresponsive. They also noticed obvious bruising all over his body. X-rays confirmed he had a right clavicle fracture, a fractured femur, and right tibia. Court documents say 3 separate neurological exams confirmed a serious brain injury with no brain activity. The child's mother told investigators how they ended up at the hospital. She said Sherman, the child's father, was alone with him on their back patio feeding him a bottle. He told her when he started burping the child, he suddenly quit breathing. The mother says 2 days before this, Sherman had another incident with the child. She woke up from a nap and found the father with the child in the bathroom with the door partially closed. Docs say the infant was crying and bleeding from the mouth. Sherman claimed the child suddenly rocked his head forward and hit his mouth on his shoulder, causing him to bleed. Docs say they never went to the hospital for this incident, not even after the mother says he was not able to feed normally. Investigators say Sherman denied knowing how the child received any of the bruises, a brain injury, or broken clavicle. A few days later, police arrested him for the death of his child. Just last month, Sherman made a plea agreement and admitted to killing his son by abusing him. Docs say he could face a maximum of 26 years in prison and 3 years community custody.
Sherman's sentencing is scheduled for November 15th. Reporting from the Spokane County Courthouse, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Spokane city leaders are working to create enough shelter space ahead of winter. Kelly Keenan just resigned as the Director of Community Housing and Human Services. He was in charge of establishing emergency shelters and creating new shelters.
Mayor David Condon released a statement that reads, in part, Kelly has poured his time, talents, and passion into supporting our most vulnerable through community services and resources. He has led a highly qualified team through a very difficult transition. The search for a new permanent shelter location will continue under new leadership.
All right, to weather now. We are seeing some wet weather around the inland northwest this afternoon, but it's looking like at least one of our days this weekend is going to be pretty nice.
And at least it's Friday, right?
That's
Meteorologist Thomas Patrick is tracking your Friday night and weekend weather. Hi, Thomas.
I love the positivity leading into weather, by the way. Yes, it is Friday, but we are still tracking just a few scattered showers. They popped up a little after 2 o'clock this afternoon. Should last through about 8 o'clock this evening. And there you see it on the radar. It's kind of in every direction from Spokane, no matter which way you look. So to the north of Spokane, a little shower just moved through Deer Park, would be kind of hitting areas between Colville, Chewelah, even towards Newport, and eventually North Idaho. And to the south of the interstate, even Cheney and the Spangle area, as well as St. Mary's, probably getting some rain right now. But it is, for the most part, north of Pullman and Moscow. Temperatures right now generally in the 50s, a little bit warmer in central Washington, up to 67 in Moses Lake right now. As for the weekend, Sunday, definitely the better of the 2 days, but Saturday is definitely not a washout. So overall looking pretty nice. We'll try to keep that positive energy going, but some up and downs for the week ahead. We'll have more on that in a few minutes.
Good, Thomas. Thank you very much. All right, take a look at your screen. Have you seen this man? The Kootenai County Sheriff's Office is asking for your help identifying him. He allegedly abandoned several rabbits in Hayden recently. The bunnies were dropped off at the Humane Society. Coming up in our 5 o'clock show, we'll look into what the penalty is for abandoning animals and how often law enforcement actually encounters these types of cases. We want to invite you to join us tonight for our live KREM Mayor debate.
Yes, we are asking Ben Stuckert and Nadine Woodward questions from you, the voters. We'll be asking them a variety of questions that you felt were important. Speak Up Spokane, happening live at 7 o'clock right here on KREM 2.
We are getting new insight into what led up to a shooting that left one man dead and 2 women injured at a senior living apartment building in Vancouver, Washington. Court documents show the suspect, 80-year-old Robert Breck, had been in an ongoing feud with the man that he allegedly shot and killed yesterday afternoon. Police say Breck shot 3 victims inside the building's lobby.
So according to court documents, he admitted to shooting the man because he, quote, couldn't take it anymore. Police say Breck barricaded himself inside his own apartment until officers were able to arrest him. Both women were taken to the hospital. One has already been released. Breck's being charged with 1 count of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. He's being held tonight without bail. And a lawsuit against an Oregon fertility clinic raises new concerns over how the industry is regulated and overseen. Dr. Bryce Cleary says his donated sperm was used to conceive at least 17 children, many of them living right here in the Northwest.
Today he tells Jamie Yukas that 30 years ago he was told that wouldn't happen.
There's just all kinds of things that can go wrong with this.
For decades, when Dr. Bryce Cleary thought of his family, he thought of his wife and 4 children. But he soon found out that he had more children, many more in fact.
And then when the scope of this became so big, it's overwhelming.
30 years ago, Cleary was a medical student at Oregon Health and Science University. He was recruited by the school's fertility clinic to donate sperm for infertile couples and research programs. Wednesday, he filed a lawsuit for more than $5 million against the university. In the suit, Cleary says he was promised that all fertilizations would be limited to women not residing anywhere near the state of Oregon and the Pacific Northwest, and no more than 5 children would be born of a donor's sperm.
I don't know if it was written down. I know it was promised.
In 2018, Cleary registered with Ancestry.com. He was shocked to learn he had at least 17 offspring, all born in the Northwest, including 25-year-old Allison Ali.
Is it emotional?
It's definitely emotional, and it's definitely shocking.
Ali has already met some of her new siblings, and as more and more people get genetic testing, she expects to hear from others.
My kids could potentially be friends with or later on date cousins. Some siblings went to schools, the same schools at one point.
Could be churches, basketball games, potlucks.
Yeah, you just don't know.
My grandkids are going to have to get DNA kits before they seriously date. That's a problem.
Sperm banking in America is big business.
Dove Fox is author of Birthrights and Wrongs, How Medicine and Technology Are Remaking Reproduction and the Law.
There's no meaningful regulation on this $6 billion industry. So sperm banks don't keep track of how many people are created from any particular donor. It's hard to be all that surprised when mishaps take place.
In a statement, OHSU says it treats any allegation of misconduct with the gravity it deserves. In light of our patient privacy obligations and the confidentiality of protected health information, we cannot comment on this case.
What is your goal with filing the lawsuit?
My goal is to get them to change. There needs to be some control. To flood a zone with a bunch of genetic material is completely irresponsible.
Bring me out. Can you introduce me as Joker?
Well, a movie theater in Southern California closed last night amid heightened security concerns surrounding the opening weekend of this movie, the controversial Joker. Police say officers were sent to that theater in Huntington Beach because of a credible threat.
The concerns trace back to a previous movie in the Batman franchise. In 2012, during a screening of The Dark Knight Rises in Aurora, Colorado, a gunman opened fire, killing 12 people and injuring dozens more. Police said he was wearing tactical gear, had dyed his hair red, and called himself the Joker. Last night, many theaters said they would not be accepting tickets after the film had started. Parents of those killed in Aurora, meantime, have written letters to Warner Brothers asking the company to help lobby for gun reform.